Hi everybody, welcome back. I am Jamie Millar, a PGA teacher professional, and today we're going to talk about some golfing ideas for the senior golfers amongst us. These are all, even for people who feel like they struggle a bit with mobility, just some simple ideas that I think can really help you improve your golf swing, maybe get you a bit more distance, and hopefully make golf a little bit less stressful on the body. So let's get into it. So I do often coach people who feel like they don't have the mobility that they think they should have for the golf swing. And what I often find is actually people are more mobile than they give themselves credit for, which is fantastic. The way we go about discovering this, the way we go about working on this, is just by trying to get people to feel a bit more mobile in their golf swing. So one of the big things I like to do with people, or one of the big things I tend to try and do with most people, is actually try and make the golf swing longer by getting them to use their body a bit more. And in particular, when I do this, or when I talk to people about this, I talk about trying to get their hip or their chest to turn a bit more. Often what we see with older golfers or with people who feel like they've got a little less flexibility is that we see a lot of arms in the swing, and we get these extra bends in the golf swing, trying to make the swing as long as possible, but not really creating any power because we're not using the right parts of our body. So according to a biomechanist, Sasha McKenzie, there are only two ways to increase clubhead speed, and they are to increase the amount of force you put into the handle, or to increase the amount of time that you have to put the force into the handle. The easiest one is to do the second one, to increase the amount of time that you have to put force in the handle. That is by making the swing longer, but doing it in the right way. So we want to make the arc of the swing, the length of the swing, as long as possible. But this swing is not very long. My hands have not moved very far. They've moved from here to here. Whereas if I have a very long swing, you can see that my hands have moved a much longer distance. This allows me to create allows me to have more time, to create more speed, which means that I can then create more power, hopefully the ball a bit further, whilst also taking a bit of stress off my body. The first thing I like to do with people is try and get a bit more hip turn. A little bit more hip turn can increase a bit the upper body rotation as well without even having to think about it. So the first thing I like to try and get people to do, get this right pocket to replace this right butt cheek in the backswing. So let me demonstrate that now. So often what we see is when people swing and they don't rotate their body much, we tend to see this kind of movement where the hip just kind of gently glides across towards the club there. What I want to see is this pocket replacing that butt cheek going this way. Now you can instantly see as I do that, this hip goes behind me, but also my upper body has to go with it. So without even trying, I've increased the upper body turn. So I'm going to step to the golf ball here as I would normally, and my sole focus is going to be trying to get this pocket to replace this butt cheek. So here's the swing as it was. Okay, so you can see I've got a little bit of hip turn, bit of shoulder turn. Instantly I'm going to try and get that pocket to replace that butt cheek. Now my hips have turned further, and my my chest has turned further as well. If you find that quite difficult, you find that quite stressful on the body, what you can do is let the left heel come off the ground, a la Jack Nicklaus or any of those golfers from that era. Okay, one of the reasons they did that was to increase the turn, which allowed them to then hit the ball further with equipment that didn't necessarily allow for the golf ball to go quite so far. So once again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have that normal swing. You can see the bends, not a lot of turn. I'm going to turn my pocket behind me and lift that heel off the ground. Now I can much more easily get that turn in, and it takes a lot of stress off the body. It's going to give you a little bit more range of motion and make that kind of thing a bit easier. If we find that someone struggles thinking about the pocket, the next step is to go to the upper body. Now, same as with the lower body, if we think about the upper body, the lower body's got to go with it. So we'd go back to sort of setting up as we were, taking that swing. Now you can see that if I put my club on my chest, it's kind of pointing out this direction. What I'd try and get people to do is try and get their belly button or their chest to point directly behind them. Again, as I do this, you can see that that club is now turned behind me. My shoulders have gone further. My hip has now gone, that pocket has now replaced that butt cheek. Again, if I feel like I'm struggling with that kind of motion, I can just let that heel come off the ground. And again, that makes things easier. It's taking a lot of stress off my body. It actually feels really easy, and I can stay in this position for quite a long time. So if you do find that you struggle thinking about the hip, try thinking about the chest or the belly button, trying to get them to point further behind you. And again, letting that left heel come off the ground. The last piece to lengthening the swing is removing these bends that we try and add in. So the bends tend to make it harder for us to strike the golf ball consistently in terms of ground contact and centerness of strike, and also loft presentation. So where the club is pointing in terms of up or down. I tend to find that people who have lots of bends tend to struggle getting the club pointing nice and high and out to the right. We want to try and get rid of those. Now, if you're a world-class ball striker, someone like Lee Westwood is the best one that comes to mind. He had a bent left arm at impact and at the top of the swing from memory. Obviously, world-class ball striker, I'm not going to change him. But if you're someone who does tend to struggle with the strikes, let's maybe look at taking some of those bends out to make it a bit easier to make good contact with the ground. Because if we think about it, our arms are fairly straight at the start. And if we add in bends, it makes it harder to then deliver the club back to the same position at the same time, every time. So we're going to try and piece all three of those together, where we get the pocket to replace our butt cheek, or the chest to point further behind us, that left heel to come off the ground, and try and remove some of those bends in our backswing as well to make that swing nice and wide, to make our swing as long as possible, taking some stress off our body and hopefully giving us a bit more distance as well. So what I'm going to do, beside the golf ball, I'm going to set up to it. I'm going to swing the club back, feeling like my pocket's replacing my butt cheek, that left heel's coming off the ground, and I'm going to take as much bend out of my arms as possible. Fantastic. So you can see now that that swing is a lot longer than my last swing, where I started here. Okay, lots of bends. All I'm feeling like I'm doing to get rid of the bends in my arms is I'm literally feeling like my hands are pushing as high and as far away from me as possible. You can't see it behind me, got some trees behind me, which I'm trying to get my hands to reach for. Okay, it's a simple thought. Try and push your hands, try and push the handle of the club as far away from yourself as possible. Trying to extend, even if you feel like your right arm feels like it's nice and straight as well, just try and get those hands as high and as far away from you as physically possible. I understand there are some limitations in that, but that's going to help you get that swing a bit wider, a bit longer, taking that stress off the body. Right, let's piece it all together. One of the things that can happen when we do this is that we often find ground strike disappears for a bit. We tend to hit the ball a bit fat or a bit thin. Any changes in your strike pattern can easily be changed once you get the hang of feeling like your hands, arms, club handle as far away from your head as possible by purely having some practice swings where you make the new motion, lots of turn, lots of width, and feel like you strike the ground just beside the golf ball. And when you do strike the ground beside the golf ball, you make sure that that divot starts in line with, to slightly ahead of the golf ball, and you'll find that your strike improves really quickly doing that. Right, let's piece it all together. So I'm going to go pocket behind me, heel off the ground, nice and wide. See how we get on. Feels really easy doing that, honestly. I should probably play golf doing that. I love the easy freedom of everything moving and being so mobile. Often when we get these very rigid swings, it feels very hard to do, but when we go very mobile, like what we're talking about here, everything moving, no issues whatsoever, then I often find that my body feels really good after a round of golf. One last bonus tip: if you are someone who finds it quite difficult to piece all that together, one thing I recommend is having some practice swings where we push the club ahead of ourselves. As I do that, you can see that I've turned my body forwards. Okay, so I'm facing forwards, my whole body's turned forwards. I'm going to swing the club back with some momentum, and I'm going to use the momentum of the club head to let my body go. You can see now I've got lots of turn this way. My hands are really far away from my head. I'm going to swing through. All that's doing is allowing you to feel what it feels like to get some motion in your body and have everything moving together. I'm going to try and do the same thing now over the golf ball. Just let my body be loose, mobile, and go for it. That was the best one of the day so far. Don't be afraid to get your body moving. Don't be afraid to let it all happen. Definitely try that out. See how you get on. Let me know. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to contact me. Leave any comments below, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.